about some far away place, maybe hidden behind some clouds? Do you think of streets of gold? Maybe Bible nerds. Do you think about the elders laying their crowns down in heaven? See, everyone at some point in their lives considers heaven. Homer Simpson considers heaven to be a long weekend. Peter Griffin says heaven is earth, but with less traffic. Kobe Bryant thought heaven was giving it everything he had. Stephen Hawking thought heaven wasn't real. And as we open to the book of Revelation this morning, we do not have to wonder what our author thinks of heaven. Instead, we get to see what he knows to be true of it. Because throughout the book of Revelation, John gets this revelation from God and gets to see glimpses of heaven. But specifically in Revelation 21 this morning, we see his first glimpse of a new heaven. See, Revelation 21 is the climax of the biblical story because Revelation 21 completes the work God began in Genesis. It restores his creation and it brings God and his people back together. Revelation 21 is the climax because it shows us the ultimate hope we have in God, that he will return again. And John this morning is writing to people. He's writing to 7 churches who are in desperate need of hope. These people are persecuted for their faith. They're trying to figure out if it's really worth enduring the suffering they face as they go throughout their life. But even our author, John, needs some hope himself. Think about where John is at in this moment. He's exiled on an island by himself. 11 of his dearest friends have been brutally murdered. The man he staked his life on following has not been with him in 50 years. John is in need of hope, and I believe that all of us are in need of hope this morning. But what we see in our passage is that God gives John a revelation that he is going to make all things new. And so this morning, because Christ is going to make all things new, we can have an unshakable hope today. Let us read in Revelation chapter 21, verses 1 through 8. Here's what it says. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. He will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God. He will wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, neither shall there be mourning, nor crying, nor pain anymore, for the former things have passed away. And he who was seated on the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. Also he said, Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true. And he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give from the spring of the water of life without payment. The one who conquers will have this heritage. And I will be his God, and he will be my son. But as for the cowardly, the faithless, the detestable, as for murderers, the sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and all liars, their portion will be in the lake that burns with fire, which is the second death. This morning we are going to see 2 pictures from Christ's return. 2 pictures from our passage. And the first one is this: a new home. A new home. In this passage, we see glimpses of what our new home will have. We see 3 distinct places that will be in our new home. We see that it's a new heaven, that it is a new earth, and that it is a new Jerusalem. Now, see, scholars debate on what these places will look like. Will it be an entirely new creation? Will it be a restoration of the old creation? Will it be something completely different? And I'm sure each of you in this room are like me, and you have some sort of opinion about the eschatological difference of what the end times will look like. But it's like the old saying, opinions are like armpits. Everyone's got it, and they all stink. All right? So what we're going to do this morning is we're not going to think and look into the things that are unclear in this passage. Rather, we're going to look to the clear promise of it. So what I want us to do today is I want us to look at these 3 places, and I want us to see the hope that is offered within each of them. So let us first look to the new heaven. A new heaven. All of us, as I said, have considered heaven, and some people have rightly considered a true heaven, the Christian heaven. Humanity's deepest longing, you've heard this before, is heaven on earth. People look for it in an experience. They look for it in a place. Some of them look for it with a person. But see, this new heaven will be God bringing heaven down to us so that we will no longer have to look for it on earth. Instead, we will find it indwelling with our Creator. The second place we see is a new earth. Now, I don't need to sit here and tell you why it is that we need a new earth today. You know the hurt of this world. You know the brokenness of this world. We've seen the theme of brokenness and of the broken earth we live in across humanity. Whether it was drought leading to famine, leading to death, whether it was war leading to destruction, whether it was a child starving somewhere, whether it was a loved one dying from cancer. We have all felt the effects of a broken world. Think about what hope we have. There is no greater hope than there being a new earth with our Creator. But I also want to consider the third place, a new Jerusalem. This new Jerusalem, it means so much for us, but I want to hone in on what it would have meant for John's audience. As I said, John's audience are under Roman persecution. They're clinging to the promises of God, hoping that there's something greater, that God really will fulfill this promise. And the promise of the New Jerusalem shows that God will do what He said He would do. Because the New Jerusalem shows them that Rome is not the final city. It shows them that the emperor is not the final authority, and that their suffering is not the final story. The New Jerusalem shows them, and it shows us, that God will return, and He will do what He said He will do, the way He said He would do. In this new home, God is offering us so much things. And these places, they show us God's glory. They reveal to us the glory that we will have when He returns with us. And so as preachers today, we have a choice when we read a passage like this. When we present this kind of text to our audience, we have a choice. We can take this text and we can look to the unclear things. We can look to what a new home will look like, what new heaven will be, where New Jerusalem will be, what it will look like. We can try and show off our impressive eschatology, but the truth is that our people will not be changed by our belief, but they will have hope when they realize that their new home is the one where every tear is wiped away. They will have hope when they realize that death is no more when they are with Christ. There will be no mourning, no pain, no sorrow when they are with Christ in their new home. We have a choice how we can preach the passage to our people. Would we rather give them our careless, our worthless thoughts, or would we rather give them the clear and true promise of God? Because when we read this passage, we will miss the point if we do not see the hope that this passage will bring us today. Because in this passage, we see that our deepest pain, our hardest struggle, the worst moment of our life is met when Christ comes and makes all things new and dwells with His people. You and me can have hope in a home that was made in the hands of our Maker. We can have hope in a home that was made by God. But see, the thing about a home is a home's purpose is not fulfilled if there are no people to live in. And so the second picture I want us to look at today is a new people. Think with me for a minute about the house on the corner of campus over by the Student Center parking lot. This house has been hidden for so long with trees and with shrubbery, and the grass was overgrown, but recently all of that was cleared out. All of it got taken away, and now we can look to that house. I look at that house, and for me, I'm like, that's a nice house, okay? There's 3 stories. It's made of brick. It's in a nice location. That house would be a house that, if it was cleaned up a little bit, I would want to live in. But as long as there are no people in that house remains worthless. That house has no purpose, and that house has nothing to offer. And what we see in that is that God, and we see in our text, that God is returning to bring us a home. But His heart is not only for a heavenly home, but for a heavenly people to be with Him in His home. See, John 14:3 says that Christ will return. And John 14:3 says that He is going to prepare a place for you and for me. John 14:3 says that He is going to do that for us to be with Him. John 14:3 promises that there is a home for us, and God is going to prepare a place for us to be with Him. Because in Christ's return, His goal is for His people to dwell with Him. But who are the people that will dwell with God? We find the answer in verse 7. Let us read verse 7 again. It says, "The one who conquers will have this heritage, and I will be his God, and he will be my son." Now, first off, the line of "the one who conquers will have this heritage," this is free, okay? Okay, like that is a awesome line. I love it. All right, that's free, but we can go back to our text for a moment. But what we see in this passage is that the conqueror is the one who has the heritage. Conqueror in the Greek here is the word nikaho. Nikaho. It means the person that holds fast until death. The person that holds fast until death is the conqueror who will have the heritage. The conqueror's faith is a persevering faith. The conqueror's faith is a faith that was obedient to God, and because he was a conqueror, he gets God himself. The heritage he gains is relationship with God. Through the conqueror's faith in God, God looks at him and makes him his child through adoption. If we choose to conquer, then we too can choose to be with God, because that is who the new heaven is filled with. The people who will be in this new heaven are the children of God. That is the beauty of this passage, is that God's children will get to be with their Father again. When we read this passage, we see that we must hold fast, because verse 8 shows a stark comparison of those who do not. Verse 8 shows people who choose to not follow God, who choose to live in opposition to God, who choose to actively rebel from God. We see in this passage that not only will the people who are against God not be in heaven, but the things against God will not be there either. What we see is that even in God's return, even when Christ comes back, he will remain a just God. His wrath will be revealed. People will be condemned to hell. People will be separated from God for eternity when he returns. And so that is why we cannot look to the book of Revelation and only read it for the future. We must look at the revelation of John and the revelation given by Christ and realize that it is talking about the first coming of Christ to the second coming of Christ, and that it is for us in the here and the now, because Christ will remain a just God. And so if we look to this passage and we do not see ourselves, then we will miss it. Because verse 8 says that these people have directly chosen opposition. They are cowards. They are faithless. They are detestable. They are murderers, sexually immoral, sorcerers, idolaters, and liars. Those people were not just around when John was writing this. Those people are in our lives today. And those people are in our world today. And so if we read this and we do not consider them, we have missed what the passage is saying. Because we cannot read a passage like this and only hope for heaven. We cannot read a passage like this and only be homesick for heaven without first being heartbroken for the sinners that are not there. We are called to live urgently for God. We are called to live urgent lives because of the hope we have found in Jesus. Because we know Christ is coming back, then we should live urgently to share his word. We should not read the book of Revelation. We should not read this passage and be convicted to be more patient on waiting for Christ. No, we should read it and be more passionate for sharing Christ. We cannot look at a passage like this and live patiently, stagnantly waiting by for God to return. Because people will be separated, we have a charge to go. We are called to live urgent. We are called to evangelize to the lost, to disciple believers into deeper relationship, to proclaim the gospel to the ends of the earth where we might not even know someone else. We are called to go to people and to share of the hope that we have found in Jesus, because unlike, if you're anything like me, I can read this passage and feel so hopeful in God. Man, what a joy it is that God is returning for me, that I'm God's child and he's going to come back for me. But we cannot read this and just have some stagnant hope. Because as Christians, we do have hope that he will return. Because if he was faithful to come once and die, he is faithful to come again and live with us. God is faithful to return to his people, but that means that we cannot have that means we must have an unwavering heart for sinners while we handle an unshakable hope. While we wrestle with the hope and the tension of waiting for God, we cannot sit stagnantly. We are called to go. We are called to conquer for God. Are you conquering for the Lord in your life? The conqueror is the one who holds fast until death. The conqueror is the one in this passage who, even enduring persecution, was faithful to the end. The conqueror is our author, who followed Jesus wholeheartedly till it found him in exile until it led to his death. We are called to conquer for God. As we expectantly await his return, we are called to emphatically share of the hope he brings. So who in your life are you going to strive for to bring with you when he returns? Who in your life will you reach? Who in your life you emphatically share God's word, God's promise, God's hope within your life? We are called to go to people, because I can tell you what is sure of this passage is verse 5. Behold, God is making all things new. And if he is making all things new, he can forgive all sinners, he can redeem all sin, and he can call all people unto himself. And so we are arrogant if we sit by and do nothing. God is going to make all things new. He will change creation how he sees fit. He will call people how he calls them. But our job is to be faithful to him. I will conquer for Jesus. I will choose to strive after people. I will take my life to the ends of the earth so that one more person will know Jesus. Will you go with me? Thank
you. You had 9 seconds remaining, Ethan.
Yeah, you started yours after me, so I was 1 second over.
We're good. No, we're good. Yeah, thank you.
I didn't interrupt at all. Is this your normal classroom? Okay, we have reserved this room for a financial aid event. I can go talk. That's why I didn't see you here, so I just let your students practicing. So I did not mean to interrupt. You did a great job.
Yeah.
No, that's how you did
Sorry,
great.
we actually moved to this class this semester.
Okay. I'll call guest services to see what we can do. Okay, thank you. Sorry again. Good luck. Best of luck to all of you.
Yikes.
Well, hey, you handled that extremely
That
well.
threw me off for sure.
Yeah, I didn't know what was going on, but you're totally fine.
Oh yeah.
All
I
right.
didn't tell if he was going to start talking, and so I was like, just gonna.
Yeah.
I wouldn't try it.
No, well done. That was very good. Very good.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, so this is really clearly structured, Ethan, and really, really well prepared. Again, I'll say the same thing I think I said last week to someone. A clear structure that we can follow easily is not necessarily the key to a good sermon. But this is good, right? This really, really, really helps. Yeah, I've got a lot of good things to say. You're a pretty accomplished communicator. Posture, movement, expression, voice is all really, really, really strong. Let me just point out some things I think would go two things at the next level, and then one thing I want you to think about more deeply. At the next level, intro's nice. It was good. Like, you got me. Even down to the Kobe Bryant thing, that was really, really cool. At the next level, I think you could use that introduction to kind of raise up the tension. And I think this comes forward even in your applications. You kind of got there, but think about a word of hope spoken into a situation of apparent hopelessness. And think about that occurring in John's situation, yes. It's one of the reasons I love the book of Revelation. If you've ever done some translation work in the book of Revelation, you know it's an absolute grammatical disaster. It is. It's a mess.
Oh yeah.
And it should be. Like, think about the situation, think about John, think about his age, think about all things. Like, if this was picture perfect grammatically and syntactically, it would feel fake. And so just think about real life, real time examples and how we ache for things to be made new. How we ache for things to be made right. And this is one of those things, this is difficult to say, but when you're my age, it'll be more natural to you. But even at your age, I think about your first sermon and how there was an ache in your first sermon about your dad. That's an aching for something to be made right, something to be made new. Okay, so I would say just name those pains, and so that we get that contrast between hope and hopelessness. I appreciate this though, that I think we need to read our Bibles more eschatologically, and this is what we're reading our Bibles toward. Right, toward. Second thing I would say is, look, I know you're a little nervous about the heaven and earth and Jerusalem thing. We handled that just fine. The only thing I would broaden that a little bit is I would, like, big picture schematic is that Genesis 1 and 2, heaven and earth meet together.
I wanted to make
I know you did. I know you
so
did.
bad. That's the time.
They meet together in a garden, right? Revelation 21, they meet together in a new city. And between Genesis 3 and Revelation 20, they're separated.
I
Yeah.
had it, like that distinction.
Yeah.
Like, literally, there's a chart I found.
Yeah, that's right.
I think it's from Daniel 8, but
Yeah.
like literally just was like, that's what I need, but I just don't have time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Other thing I would say, this isn't bad. I think I know why you did it, but that's the financial aid director one. That's right there. I'm not convinced that this text is evangelistic. I see the application, right? But I think verse 8 is a word of judgment is really meant. There is an application to go and tell, but the word of judgment is actually supposed to circle back as a word of comfort. God won't let the oppressor win, right? So I think the fullness of the passage should be full-throated word of comfort. There might be an evangelistic thing in there to do it, but I think the conclusion should be comfort, 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 because this is written to suffering believers. Does that make sense?
I think I wrestle with that tension because I'm like, I see that, but then I also think about the responsibility of the reader so much, especially when I read my Bible, like personally, and even when I preach it. And like, it's always, I think part of it was I preached on this like a week ago, but like the struggle of these people are here, and it's true that these people will not be in heaven, but I still feel the pressure that we have a responsibility to share the faith so much because of the hope that we do have in Jesus. And so I think I wrestle with that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair to wrestle with that. I think some of this comes from your, just because I know you a little bit, and this is not a bad thing. You have an evangelistic impulse in you. Never lose that. Never lose that. That's one thing I really appreciate where I think you're going in ministry, where I know your next step is. You're gonna need that. I think in this case, find a way to use that evangelistic thrust, but envelop it in this word of hope, relief, comfort. I mean, this message is less go and conquer in Jesus' name, more rest because the conqueror has won. Does that make sense? So, yeah. All right, other words for Ethan quickly before we get kicked out of the ring.
Ethan, you're a really, really strong message. Like, I just level 1, level 2 content is so clear. The exegesis of the passage is so clear. And it's true, like Fuller said, this is ultimately a message of comfort. All of it is a message of hope. But even still, like, I'm with Fuller 100%. I think, like, the people I know in this room, like you, Micah, and Malachi, you guys inspire me for evangelism more than anybody I know.